There he is. There's my guy. What's up?
Yo, man, how you doing?
Good. How you doing? Is that the
Good.
crib behind you? You got the setup, huh?
Yeah, this is kind of a man cave and the kids' toy room and stuff like that. So the rest of the stuff, there's just toys and stuff everywhere from them not being outside and being stuck inside for a little bit.
That's awesome, man. How many you got now? Two?
Two, yep. My son just turned 3 last week. My daughter will turn 1 in a week. So they're at some pretty fun ages right now.
That's awesome. I'm sure that's keeping you busy in the house right now,
Picking up toys, I feel like every 5 minutes, dude. It's driving me nuts.
huh? That's great, man. All right, ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, everybody. We got a really cool guest on today. His name's Ryan Rua. If that name doesn't sound familiar to you, it should. He's an ex-big leaguer. Went from Division II to the big leagues. Spent, I think, a better part of, 4 years in the big leagues, Ryan, if I'm right?
Yeah, yep, close to 4 years.
4 years in the show. I actually played against Ryan in college. He was absolutely the real deal. And now he's coaching. So he's going to bring a bunch of unique perspectives on some recruiting topics that we run into a ton. I'm excited to hear what he has to say. I'm going to let him take the keys to the car today. But the first question I got for you, Ryan, and then, by the way, if you guys got any questions, feel free to jump in whenever. We'll do our best to answer them. I got a full list for Ryan just because of his unique background. But any questions you want, just type them in the bottom. We'll do our best to answer. So my question is, Division II to the big leagues, how'd that happen? Now, what I mean by that is, do you feel like you were under-recruited in high school, or were you underdeveloped in high school? It's usually one or the other.
Yeah, no, I was definitely very raw. I was underdeveloped, both physically and mentally. I think I matured a lot both my freshman, sophomore year of college. Probably graduating, I was probably 5'11", 160.
Wow.
Was tiny, and kind of had some D3 offers, Mount Union, Heidelberg, Notre Dame College, some of those schools like that. Lake Erie came along down the road. Was in the process of going D3 to D2, which kind of intrigued me because that was my only D2 offer. And at the time, I had the opportunity to go in and play shortstop right away from the first time I stepped foot on campus, which to me was a huge thing. And at T3 now, we talk a lot about that with our players. Yeah, it's cool to go D1. If you're going to sit for 3 years, why would you not go D3, D2, and possibly play your freshman or sophomore year? Kind of a big talking and teaching point for a lot of our guys. We talk about it as well.
That's awesome, man. That's great stuff. I know the weight room is huge for you. I know when I played against you, you're an absolute tank. You weren't 160. So I'm sure the weight room played a huge part in that as well. And you're into that. You do strength and conditioning now as well, correct?
Correct. I've always enjoyed kind of the nutrition aspect, the weightlifting, the science of being able to kind of develop your body and your muscles and stuff like that. So the T3 aspect of it, I trained there the past 3 off seasons. If a lot of you don't know about T3, we're up in Avon, Ohio, probably 20 minutes west of Cleveland, on the lake. Probably one of the premier training facilities in Northeast Ohio, Northern Ohio. But just an athlete kind of developmental place where we develop these young athletes from anywhere to the ages from 8 to pro athletes like I was, or football players that are in there, Browns guys that are in there and stuff like that too. But, we start out with mobility stuff. Being mobile is huge. I didn't know a lot about that when I was younger. Our coaches, our staff do a great job of your specific sport and keeping you both agile, mobile, and strong at the same time. So that kind of aspect of it now, the fitness kind of industry, is really what gravitated me towards going there and doing what I do now. And it's kind of replaced baseball and that passion I had for baseball, for that fitness, nutrition's kind of taken over for me.
That's phenomenal stuff. Yeah, if you're up north, make sure you're out there checking out T3. It's unbelievable, man, that facility. You still got the blue turf out there?
Yeah, it kind of stands out. It's kind of our calling card. It's pretty cool.
We go out there once a year, man. It's top notch. So if you're up north, you got a chance to check it out. make sure you're going out there. But you kind of hit on it a bit. My next question to you would be, speak on Division II. Now, you kind of hit on a lot of guys think it's D1 or bust. So I talk all the time about the amazing baseball we have in the state of Ohio. I'm not sure what the Division II is kind of split up, but when we were playing, the GLIAC was absolutely loaded. And then Division III wise, I mean, it was some of the best baseball in the country, I think. I think we have T3 in the country. But talk about Division II and why it was right for you and your experience at the Division II level.
Yeah, I think, the campus life, there wasn't much to do. So I was solely focused on baseball, and I had a good group of friends and great recruiting class that came in with me as freshmen that, that's all we did really. There wasn't a whole lot to do. The campus was small, the surrounding cities were smaller. So it really, if I didn't go to Lake Erie College, I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in now, or, have been the past couple of years. So that kind of helped form me, the person I am, and kind of got me thinking differently. Coach McGee, who's at Wittenberg now, was my coach there. An Amherst guy, went to Amherst like me, and he kind of instilled that work ethic. He didn't let us take days off. He didn't let us take reps off. You were there, it was baseball or nothing pretty much. And you see a lot of guys get weeded out, and it's tough. And if you don't like baseball, and you don't love it, enjoy it, eat, breathe, sleep it, it's probably going to be tough for you. And that's probably any college you go to. The D2 route for me, and you hit on it, we were playing Ashland, we were playing Grand Valley State, Saginaw Valley State. Those schools, to me, compete in the MAC with other schools. Teams like Mercyhurst in Pennsylvania, teams like Seton Hill in Pennsylvania. We were playing top-notch Division I caliber players and teams that I think could go out there and compete in the Big Ten or even the MAC. But yeah, I think a lot of people do get wrapped up in that D1 kind of talk, and it comes down to if you can play right away at D1, hell, go play D1. That's awesome. I'm not taking anything away from that. I am a little biased, and I'm sure you are too, because we played D2 and D3. But I think from a standpoint, to me, it was I want to play right away. Where do I have the best chance to play right away? I don't want to sit for 3 years and waste those 3 years of my career away and then say, oh, maybe I'll get to play my junior, senior year. So it was tough on the decision part, but Lake Erie, turned out to be the best thing that happened to me.
I mean, there's so much good stuff there, man. I couldn't say it better. I mean, I always say it's like college baseball is a job, man. You just hit on it. Like, you're grinding all the time. And if you're not going to play, man, then you're basically getting a job. You're doing a job for no pay. And so I couldn't say it better, man. Go where you think you're going to play right away and where you think you could still go to school if life doesn't work out with baseball. Because me and Ryan both will tell you we went Division II in the smallest towns in the history of Ohio. And if we had to change it, we wouldn't do anything different. All right, man. So the next thing I got for you, another unique thing about Coach Rua. When I played against Coach Rua in college, he was an All-American shortstop. He was the best shortstop in the country. And I think now not all of us are going to play in the big leagues, but I think this is an important subject to speak on because Coach Rua was the best shortstop in the country in Division II. And then he had to when he got to the pros, he saw other shortstops that we were talking about yesterday. Like, oh, this may not be for me. So I think a lot of guys in high school, most of the best players on the team, you might be a shortstop, center fielder. But when you get to the next level and you're competing, whatever that next level may be, and you have another talent here, you may have to have some defensive versatility. And I can't say this for sure, but I would assume, Coach Rua, the reason other than your bat, you had such a long professional career was your ability to play multiple positions. So talk about that experience going from All-American shortstop to playing just about everywhere in the show pretty much.
Yeah. I played shortstop and pitched all, high school, college. That's all I did. Luckily, as soon as I stepped foot in Arizona for rookie ball, I saw those other shortstops that came from all over the country and, Dominican Republic, all over the world, Venezuela. And it was an eye-opener for me. You think about kind of being a big fish in a small pond, and then you get out there with people from around the world, and you're like, wow, this is the real deal. And it wasn't a thing for me to get negative or, kind of pout about, but that versatility right there from the get-go was a reason that I made it to the big leagues. If I would have stayed at shortstop or tried to stay at third base, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So yeah, that versatility, high school, college is ideal. It makes it easier on coaches. Coach knows, manager knows he can plug you in or give someone else a day off and you can play 3, 4, 5 multiple positions. You're more valuable than that guy that can play one. And you've seen it over the years as the big league games kind of developed. Guys like that, Ben Zobrist, Joey Gallo type players like that who can do it all.
That's awesome, man. Great stuff. All right, well, we got a big leaguer on, man. I always got to ask this question. I want to hear about 2 experiences. Talk about your first big hit and then your first big league bomb. Tell me what that was like.
First big league hit, I think we were at Houston, and I was playing every day in the minor league, so I was hot. So I came out. If I was getting a fastball and it was in the zone, I was trying to kill it. I think I started out 0 for 3 with some good swings, and I think it was my 4th at bat. Ended up getting a slider and shooting it to right for a base hit. I think everything leading up to that day in that game, that 24 hours was super nerve-wracking. And then you get into the game, and it's what you've been doing your whole life. It's easy to say that, but everything kind of takes over, and you just play. First big league bomb didn't come for a while, maybe 4 weeks, and older veteran guys are starting to give me a hard time because I had a bunch of home runs in the minor leagues. But it ended up being a good at bat in Anaheim against Houston Street. Fouled off some tough pitches and got a fastball, and ended up being go-ahead home run, and we won ended up winning the game the next half inning. So pretty cool experience right there, being able to do that and making that my first one.
That's awesome. Off Houston Street, man. That dude was a stud. He was an ex-Longhorn, right?
Yeah, ex-Longhorn. I think he might be there coaching now, helping out with Tulo and maybe another guy or so. They're helping out on that staff.
It's not a bad staff to go and play for.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff, man. Well, let's stick on the big league stuff for a second. We'll get back to recruiting here in a bit, but talk about. You've played with some stars, man. So if you would want to give me more than a few guys, 1 or 2 guys in this answer, I'm going to ask you about the best of each of these 2 questions. But let's start off with, who's the best pitcher you ever faced? I know that's tough for you to say, playing 4 years in the show, but the nastiest stuff you ever faced.
Yeah, I mean, even from spring training where you're playing some interleague teams, you don't play every once in a while. Guys like Kershaw in the National League, Sale, obviously. I'm trying to think. Blake Trinan, who's pretty much unheard of. A lot of people don't know about, but dude just absolutely gave me fits. I'm trying to think who else. Chapman and Andrew Miller. Those guys being as big as they are and left-handed, you don't see that every day.
That's awesome. What pitch does Trennan have that was on Pitching Ninjas all showing it? What's his go-to?
It's pretty much a 98 to 101 kind of screwball. It's just a power sinker that just takes off.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I was literally probably getting some pinch hit at bats in some games that were out of hand in the 9th against him, and it was just like sitting there for 3 hours and coming in trying to face that was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. All right. Got 2 questions on the hitting side. Best overall hitter you ever played with or played against, for that matter.
That's a good one. I think with Adrian Beltre, no doubt. Didn't matter. First inning, 9th inning, blowout game, whatnot, playoff game. He wasn't taking a pitch off. His preparation, everything he did, unbelievable to me. It's why he'll be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. Playing in the AL West for 4 years, 5 years on and off. Chris Davis from Oakland was phenomenal to me to watch. His strength. You look at Seattle with Nelly Cruz and Robinson Cano, unbelievable guys to watch. Houston, obviously, with Correa on the upcome and Altuve, 2 more awesome guys to watch. And then LA, I got to watch Trout, Pujols, Ohtani. I mean, it was play against those guys and watch those guys what they do and make it look so effortless was a lot of fun.
That's cool stuff, brother. All right, well, someone just asked my next question almost word for word. It may be Gallo, but who's the dude that if you guys sit down with some popcorn and watch Take BP, doesn't have to be the best overall hitter. Is that Joey Gallo? Who's the dude that's hits you've seen in BP that just puts on a show?
Yeah. Joey's probably one of my better friends that came up through the minor leagues with me, and we stay in contact, almost daily, weekly. But that guy is, it's unbelievable if you haven't seen him. From the time he, stepped foot in our Texas organization, it was something no one ever seen before. And we beg him and we get on him all the time to get in the home run derby. Because if he did, I would put a lot of money on him that he would win it, because it is something special. But yeah, I would say definitely Joey for sure.
What's the first ball you ever seen him hit? That's the question. Guess him.
God, I mean, he's killed some balls. I know BP in Texas, he hit some on the roof in right field on that overhang. It's almost over the roof out of the park. So you can't even judge the distance. I know we had our social media guys tweeting it and doing stuff like that. Just stuff like that that blows up on the media nowadays. But he was doing that kind of stuff in BP, and he's another guy that's come such a long way. I think a lot of people forget how young some of these guys are that have been in the league for 4 or 5 years already. Phenomenal talent for him to be able to play center field. 6'5", 6'6", and 240, 250 pounds and move and do the things he does. He's one of the bright young faces of baseball.
Good stuff, man. It's always cool to hear perspective of guys that have seen it firsthand. All right, let's get let's get back to the high school development recruiting scene. Talk about T3, man. You hit on it a little bit earlier. You just started latching on. As a coach. So talk about your experience going from player to coach and what you guys are doing over at T3, the mission you got going on over there.
Yeah, I was kind of asked to step in, kind of help, coach, do lessons, train some guys in the weight room and stuff like that too. Bob Beck, the director of baseball over there, has done a phenomenal job of bringing in players and getting that organization going. We're still one of the younger organizations that are out there now, with close to 300 kids and 18 youth teams from 8U to 18U. The future is crazy bright, and we have some crazy ideas of what we want to do up there. And it's really exciting. I wish I could kind of talk about it, but I'll keep it to myself for right now, and hopefully those things do happen down the road. But I think Northern Ohio doesn't get as much love as Columbus and Cincinnati, which is kind of one of our teaching points. Whether you don't play with us or you do, we want you in that building training with our trainers, the best trainers in Northern Ohio, the best training facility in Northern Ohio. And that's a big point for us too. I can talk about some of the guys that have been in and out of there baseball-wise, that I'm sure like Gavin Earhart, who's an unbelievable talent, who you talk about and you'll see in a couple years. Troy Sudbrook, who's on the radar right now for PBR, who's 6'3", 185 utility guy. He could play every position. I'd say by the time he graduates, he's 6'4", 200 pounds. Swings it from the left-handed side. And then we have guys that travel from like an hour away, like Sam Slottick from NDCL.
Oh yeah.
Carter Villavot comes in, some Ohio Elite guys. I'm trying to think. It's just I want to be around the best high school players and help those guys as much as I can is my kind of thing. And I know that's kind of Coach Beck's thing, and our general manager Jeff Sudbrook as well. Those guys, we want to bring in the best talent, whether you play for us or not. We understand that, but we want you to train there is our main thing. Pick our brains, get our knowledge. Let's just not talk hitting off a tee for an hour, but let's talk the mental aspect of it. Let's talk about some different things like that. How do you handle failure? How do you go about those things? How do you handle the off the field stuff? Try not to put too much stress, too much pressure on yourself. Dealing with, coaches or parents, whatnot, that give you those stress and that pressure. And just trying to have those kids, stick with it, develop an awesome work ethic, have fun with it, and let everything kind of take care of itself down the road.
Man, I keep telling myself I'm going to chime in here, but you're absolutely murking it right now. So I ain't got much more to add on that. That was perfect. And you kind of hit into my question. You hit on a few of those guys. But I was going to ask, when you're in T3, day in and day out. You're obviously, like you said, seeing a ton of talent. I know it's just going to be tough, but give me one dude that really stands out for you prospect-wise. It can be Gavin, Sam, Slottick, Carter, any of those guys. Give me one guy that I know you love a ton of them. Give me one that college coaches need to know about, and that's going to be on the scene in the next few years.
I think if I had to pick one, I'm kind of biased on who I'm going to pick. I don't want to make anyone mad by not picking anyone or anything, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I said, like some of those guys I mentioned, even some of the Ignatius guys, Matt Gibberti, Pansteris, those guys that fly, they're in there. Their work ethic is awesome. Some Amherst guys like Josh Qualls, who plays for Force Ohio and Team Force, just there's so much talent in Northeast Ohio that a lot of people don't hear about. But if I had to pick one, I would say, Gavin Earhart right now, for how physically mature he is and seeing his work ethic develop in the past 5 or 6 months, with me in the cages, in the weight room. He's super talented. Obviously, I think the pitching aspect is his calling card right now. Mm-hmm. But, man, I'm excited for a lot of people to be able to see him swinging as well. I think he's definitely a D1 two-way player.
He can run a bit too, right?
Kid moves for how big he is.
Yeah. I was shocked when I saw him run for the first time. He hit a ball in the gap and he's moving around the base. I'm like, how is this happening?
Yeah. He's crazy athletic. I know they're going to want him on the football field for how big and physical he is as well. So try to keep him as mobile and as athletic as we can.
That's awesome, man. All right. Shifting a bit more into the recruiting scene. If you were going through this process again, all right, so you spoke on it earlier for everybody just jumping on. Coach Rua went from under-recruited, one Division II offer, if I remember that correctly, and then he ended up playing in the big leagues, and physical, mental development was huge for him. But to kind of round back to a similar question, if you were going through this process again, is there anything you would have done differently in the recruiting process?
No, I think, from my parents' standpoint, my parents hit on me like, hey, and this is something we kind of take with our T3 players who are looking to play in college as well. I had a talk with Troy Sudbrook this past week, and my guys message me all the time is, what can we do to get better? Well, it's not always baseball or physical related. I was like, hey, you have so much downtime right now. Why don't you go pick out 5 schools from the MAC, 5 schools from the Big Ten, and 5 D2 schools from Ohio or surrounding states, and kind of research them and let me know what you think. Being realistic with yourself and what type of player you are is something that's huge, that we talk about a lot and plays a big role in development. If you're not a D1 player and you're thinking, I'm going to go to TCU or I'm going to go to Texas, you're hurting your chances a lot to play somewhere else. But yeah, I think being realistic, researching those schools that are realistic to you, seeing if they have your major, if you enjoy campus, getting on campus, emailing the coaches or, trying to get a hold of the coaches and set something up, going to a prospect camp that they hold, getting in front of those coaches any way you can, is only going to better your chances of playing at that school that you want to go to that fits right for you ultimately.
Phenomenal stuff, bro. Phenomenal stuff. Being realistic is really hard. It's really tough for players and parents, but when you do conquer that domino of being realistic, then you open yourself up to so many options, man. Like the world of D2, D3, junior college, it's another one we haven't really hit on, but JUCO baseball, you guys got a good one up north in Tri-C. In Sinclair, a lot of people know is the winningest program in the state of Ohio over the past 5 years. So there's a lot of good baseball out there, and I don't think either of us are saying, like, give up on the Division I dream. That's not what I'm saying, but be realistic. Trust guys around you, like Coach Rua or any guys on your staff, guys that have seen it for a while, and just be honest. Ask them where they think you fit. Work like hell, and if you're honest with yourself, you're going to find some really cool schools that you might not have otherwise seen if you're waiting on, like you said, TCU to email you back. But that's great stuff, man. All right, so this is from our executive director, Chris Valentine. Great question. Who's the most inspirational coach you've ever had?
Man, I shout out my coaches all the time, from travel ball when I was 11 to high school ball to college, to even guys in the pros that, kind of change your mindset and help you think differently. Every single coach I've had played a role in, me getting to the big leagues, and I believe that 100%. And I think, going into college, knowing I had a really good chance to play shortstop every single day the first time I stepped foot on campus, if I had kind of a lackadaisical coach that wasn't on me all the time, I wouldn't have become the player and kind of developed that work ethic like I did. So if I had to say anyone, Brian McGee, who, like I said before, is Wittenberg's head coach now, was a key aspect in me transforming, more so mentally, but that mental thing kind of led into me, wanting to work harder physically and get stronger, get faster, and do that kind of stuff, take more reps. And with the facilities at Lake Erie, it was tough. We made way of, what we had, and I know you're the same at Tiffin too. But it was baseball 24/7. So, Brian McGee and, the facility at Wittenberg, if you haven't seen that now, their new facility is, it's a D1. It puts a lot of D1 schools to shame. But he was a key contributor and, helping me get to where I got.
That's great stuff, man. I remember I love Coach McGee now, man. He's my absolute boy. I get to see him all the time over at Wittenberg. But when he was coaching you guys, man, who was that right-hander you had? Big physical dude, last name Beach, I think?
Yeah, Adam Beach. Right? Yep, still one of my best friends.
Yeah.
See him probably twice a month still. He's down in Cincinnati, but we mess around, play Fortnite together, and do that stuff.
Dude, I'll never forget. I pieced up a ball pretty good off him, and he didn't like my reaction. And the next time he put one right between my numbers, and I took about a half step. And I swear, Coach McGee was out there before I could even react, man. He's a fiery dude, one of the most passionate guys in this business, man. I'm sure he fights like hell for his players, man. He's such a good dude.
100%. He wanted you to play the game hard, but you played it the right way. And if you put someone else's career in jeopardy like that, he was there to stick up for everyone.
I just got a question. Yeah, I did play at Tiffin at the same time as Kyle Robinson. K-Rob's my dude. If you know him, say what's up. I miss that guy. Such a great guy. But just hearing you talk, I hadn't planned on asking you this, but since we're just with your answers are so phenomenal, talk about young guys, like what they can start doing for the mental game wise. Any books they should read, anything, because obviously I didn't know this before going into this, but just hearing you talk, it sounds like the mental part of the game and maybe the mental part of life was such a huge part of your development because physically you always, once you got there, you were good enough for those guys, but it sounds like mentally you took some steps in pro ball. What are some stuff from the mental side of it that you would recommend to young guys?
I think if you're a good player, you play every single day. When I got to the big leagues, I was kind of a utility guy, face lefties and stuff like that, gave guys a day off. So that mental aspect for me didn't really come into play until I got to the big leagues. And it might have been too late for me. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I wasn't playing to say, hey, if I play tomorrow, I got to have a good game. And if I didn't have a good game, then it ate at me more. So like we talk about with our young guys, try to have as much fun as possible. You're going to put pressure on yourself because you're a good player and you know what you're capable of doing. But the aspect of having fun, enjoying the game, don't ever let that get away from you. I think that's such a huge key that isn't hit on a lot. Whatever you go 0 for 4 doesn't mean you can't go 4 for 4 the next day. You have a bad day of BP, that doesn't mean you're going to have a bad game in the next hour. You hit bad in the cage, 2-3 days out of the week doesn't mean you're going to have a bad weekend in that showcase or that tournament. Different things like that. Stay confident and know what you can do to the best of your abilities. At T3, we kind of brought on the aspect of, confidence breeds confidence. If that 4 hitter, those 1 through 4 hitters have confidence in that 9-hole hitter, that 9-hole hitter is going to have more confidence in himself. Same thing on the mound. If the ace or the closer has confidence in that long reliever or middle reliever, he's going to have more confidence in himself. Different things like that aren't really talked about with the youth game, but kind of keep it simple and not try to overwhelm them too much. Is kind of the things we're talking about.
I mean, that's great stuff, man. Yeah, I always tell. I work with hitters as well, so I don't do much of the pitching side of it when talking about the mental game. But hitting, man, it's like people get so caught up in batting average and what they did last game. And I always tell guys, it's like, all right, man, let's just say your worst season's 300 and your best is 400. Like, you're going to end up somewhere between that. Like, if you try to ride the highs and lows of that, it's just going to eat at you, man. You're going to lose what you said, the love for the game. And if you just play the game with that passion, man, and just realize that it's all going to even itself at the end, you're going to save yourself a ton of sleep. But yeah, we got a question down here. You hit on it a little bit earlier, but a guy asked, how old were you when you started to get actually recruited? And for you, it sounds like it happened pretty late.
Yeah, I think you can kind of attest to this too. With us playing at the same time, the showcases and the PBR stuff, there wasn't much of it. So a lot of that was doing it on your own, summer ball, high school ball, and doing a lot of that kind of self-recruiting on your own and getting yourself out there to coaches and stuff like that. Different kind of winter camps and stuff like that I would go to at Oberlin College with, Coach Abrahamowitz and stuff like that, and he would bring in different coaches to see you and stuff like that. But I would say it was probably late into middle of my junior year. And luckily it worked out to me that I was able to find a school that fit me, personally, and was able to let me play right away. And that process happened pretty quick. Now, you fast forward 10, 15 years down the road, it's a different game. There's showcases, there's online videos of you can put out there whatever you want. Just different stuff like that. But I mean, what you guys at PBR do and being able to get, you don't have to be a super uber talented kid to get out there and do what you do. You guys are going to put everyone out there and give everyone their fair chance of being seen. And that's kind of what, we're looking at T3 and some different ideas we have too. But, I believe solely, and I heard this when I was playing too, you don't really think about it, but there's so many D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA schools. If you have a love for baseball and you're willing to work at it, there's a school that'll have you play. And I think you can attest to that and kind of you believe in that too. There's so many schools that a lot of people don't think of. Obviously the D1 schools get all the limelight and stuff like that too. But just being able to, trust yourself, do what you got to do, and put yourself in the right situations realistically is huge.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's such a good point. I'm kind of disappointed myself I didn't bring that up earlier with all the recruiting time we've been doing, but there's a place for everybody, man. There really is. Now, I mean, there's different types. Like if you go to, like, for example, I coached at Otterbein when I first started coaching Division III, and we had a JV program with 20 dudes on it, and we coached those dudes like they were going to start for tomorrow. And you saw some guys that just died off, but the guys that really worked at it, we saw so many guys that went from a JV program, they got physically developed, and by their senior year, they were a factor. Or you got to walk out with your parents on senior day and have those special moments and be a student athlete. And there's a place for everybody if you want. And you hit on it perfectly. When we played, if there was a college coach in the stands, you're like, what? What's he doing here? Like, yeah. There was nobody at our games. And now with this world, I mean, what you hit on being proactive in your own recruitment process. Yeah, guys like us, yourself, T3, there's guys that will train you. There's guys will give you exposure. But at the end of the day, you got to take some ownership of your own recruitment and do all the things you just said. And if you do that, there's going to be a place that's going to let you play, man. That's phenomenal stuff. All right, I got one more question for you. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure you're poised to pick up with the little kids now.
Yeah.
But at home right now, some guys don't have access to a facility right now with what we're going through. What advice do you have for players at home? How can they get better? You hit on the mental game. Let's talk a little bit more physically. If you were playing the show this year, what would you be doing right now to make sure you're going to be able to hit the ground ready to go once baseball does start?
Yeah. You talk about, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Obviously, baseball is going to start back up at some point. It's not the fact of, it's whatever you do. You take time off, it takes that much more time to get back into it. All these high school players, youth players for the past 3, 4, 6 to a year have been busting their tail to get in the situation that they're in right now. And, unfortunately we're in this situation with, the coronavirus and stuff like that, where baseball's been put on a hold and life's been put on hold. But the simple stuff, especially at home, balls off the wall, throwing tennis balls off the wall, no gloves, staying fundamentally sound, working on your hand-eye coordination, both from a fielding perspective and hitting perspective. I was never a huge tee work guy, until, I started doing these lessons and helping kids out and seeing a different perspective of it. The tee is a great tool, and, you don't need anyone else to help you with it. It tells you what you're doing wrong right away. You being able to coach and correct yourself, the earlier you can understand that what you're doing wrong, just helps you to become a better player throughout the years. So, I mean, from baseball standpoint, anything hand-eye coordination to keep that going that you've built up over the past couple months getting ready for this season. The tee work aspect of it, a tee and a net. If you have, a friend or you're a parent that can soft toss to you, or side toss to you, different stuff like that. It sucks right now because everyone's inside, and, the weather's starting to get a little bit nicer. If you can get outside, run, push-ups all day. You got so much downtime now. Hit those push-ups, hit those dips, planks, anything. I mean, you see if you look on social media now, you see all the home quarantine workouts. Pick one of those things. I know T3 does an awesome job of putting on a live workout every morning, Monday through Friday. I think 8 o'clock they'll do an adult class, 9 o'clock for 45 minutes to an hour they'll do a speed work class, and then at 10 o'clock they'll do an athlete class with some home body, body weight kind of workouts. So if you can see that stuff or you want to follow them and do that, I mean, there's so many different people that put out good information. It's so easy now to just sit around and do nothing and watch TV, or, get on Netflix and watch Tiger King a couple times and check that out. But, yeah, just try to stay active, man. That's the main thing.
That's great stuff, man. I second all that. The other thing I have my hitters do, which I think can help too, is if you just Google different pitchers and put an umpire view, you can set that up on your TV and just work on your timing off a live pitcher, like going through your movements, stuff like that, if you don't have access to it too. So just seeing a pitcher helps, and just being able to move off him, because the hardest thing to get back is timing. And if you can get that, keep that where it's at, then you're going to hit the ground a little bit better. But great stuff, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for being on. I didn't know what to expect from you. This was absolutely freaking fire. If you got anything else before I let you go, you got anything else you want to put out there?
No, man. Like I said, I didn't know what to expect either. I'm glad you reached out and we were able to do this. But like I said, from a standpoint of what you guys do, we at T3 are very impressed. We applaud you guys, and being able to help out the youth game and help out those guys get to the next level. And it's fun to watch you guys grow, not only in Ohio but on a national level too. But yeah, no, I was super excited, and it turned out really well.
Yeah, this was great stuff, man. Well, I'm going to be up there quite a bit, man. We need to hang out because you can just drop some knowledge on me, man. So I'm going to pick your brain some more, but I appreciate it, Ryan. If you ever need anything, reach out. It's great talking to you, brother.
Sounds good, man. Thanks, Jordan.
Yep, later.
Later, bro.